Well, Mayor Omar Neal, it is 7:01. How are you today, brother?
I'm doing wonderful, Dr. T. How are you doing?
You know what? I woke up this morning with a sense of urgency,
Mm,
the urgency of now. Did you remember Dr. Martin Luther King wrote the book, The Urgency of Now, at the height of the civil rights movement when things were looking really, really grim?
hmm
I think we're still in a place like that now, especially with this Delta variant.
Yeah, it looks like it's the quiet before the storm. When people get in a lull, the conversation around the virus is waning in the media, and so people are redirecting their attention towards other things to include, you know, uh, getting back to some social normacy. The other thing is they want to really engage with people because they've been distant. The social distancing has really wreaked havoc on relationships. And so people are trying to get back together. But part of getting back together is part of the problem, particularly if you're not vaccinated. And that's one of the things we need to be talking about, man, in a very real way. And I'm glad to have the people we have on this panel. We have an incredible panel, and we're bringing in the people who are the trusted information centers, the barbershops and the salons, to begin to have a real conversation, not just dealing with the particulars about the vaccine. I mean, that's one thing, but I think it's important that we talk about the whys, not just the what. And today I want us to engage in that kind of real open conversation about why we should be doing what we're doing. Where does the danger lie, and what can we do to avoid being victimized by this virus? And so those are the things we need to be talking about. And so I'm happy to have this wonderful A team. This is what you call an A team. To have people like this, I got a new person that's gonna come on with us. That's here with us, Dr. Faith Fletcher. Now, she's a star. You know how you met Trey. That's in Atlanta, and everybody now know he's a star and all of that, right?
Yeah.
Well. She's like that. She's that kind of person that everybody don't know her yet, but just watch.
Well,
you know, you will know her after this, that kind of thing. But anyway, so welcome everyone. We have people coming in. Come on in. This is the COVID-19 rapid response training for barbers and stylists, from vaccine hesitancy to vaccine confidence. I'm Omar Neal, the former mayor of Tuskegee, Alabama, and the host of the very popular You Got the Power radio show. And
very
is
popular.
that plug-in? Is that Dr. Cook? That's what you call plug-in, right? Right. So,
Your show needs no plug.
oh, thank you so much.
Every
Well,
Wednesday.
yeah. So let's look at this conversation. We want to bring in everybody in. Reed, if you could come back to us in video. I know you may have gone out for some reason, but we want everybody to see you as well. And we have Dr. Cameron Webb from the White House in the house. From the White House in the house. So you in the house for real. And Dr. Tuesday Cook, again, we can't say anything more about Dr. Tuesday Cook other than dynamite, right? I mean, just as bad as she want to be. And nobody wants to go behind you. So I don't know how we going to do this, over the time. We have Aaron Perry, who has now just kind of become a staple with us, that's really doing some things with barbers and really focusing on the holistic approach to men's health. And we're so appreciative to have that kind of innovation taking place. we went all the way down to Georgia. We had Georgia on our mind. And we found Tony Roberts, who is one of the top barbers, master barbers in Georgia. And he's in Atlanta, Georgia. And he's doing his thing in another way. But not only is he a barber, but he also saves souls. So he's a minister as well. so,
He just does that part.
So he cut your hair.
I'm just the instrument.
Yeah. Well,
Happy to be here.
It's so good to have you here, and we have Dr. T, who needs no introduction. This whole notion, this whole concept of the stylists and barbershops being places by which people can get information about health is his brainchild, and this predated COVID. We just decided, or I guess it wasn't what we decided, Reverend Roberts. It was divine providence that we could use this vehicle to address the issue of COVID vaccines and COVID hesitancy and what we need to do to get our people protected. So I'm going to shoot it right back to you, Dr. T, to say hello to our stylists and our barbers, and let's get this party started.
Well, let me just say welcome and thank you for that introduction, Omar. I stand on the shoulders of a whole lot of folks who have been in this space. It's just so exciting to see the humble barbershop and beauty salon come from the margins to the mainstream right now at this time, at a moment when we need them more than ever, because it's all about trust. Access to the vaccine is no longer an issue, not as big as it was. And now it's about trust and trustworthiness. And so we're very proud to be providing the training platform for the barbers and stylists. And we're committed to addressing many of the underlying conditions that predated COVID and make this disease so devastating for our community. Omar, I think that, again, every day, the science gives us new information and the virus gives us new challenges.
Mm-hmm.
I think this would be a good time to kind of set the table and have Dr. Cam Webb and Dr. Reed Tuckson kind of set the table. And Reed, if you can let this audience know the groups behind making this possible, and how unprecedented it is for us to have the kind of leadership behind this movement. Dr. Tuckson?
Well, thank you. And I'm always happy to lead off and set the table for my my brother, Dr. Cameron Webb, who is really the star of all of these things. I want our barbers and stylists to understand that you are cared about, you are respected, you are important in the life of our community. There is all this energy being devoted to you because we understand that you occupy a unique and irreplaceable role in the life of Black America. What happens in the barbershop and in the salon is irreplaceable by anyone else. And so we come to you with a certain humility, but also with a partnership. I represent something called the Black Coalition Against COVID. That is the 4 historically Black medical schools: Howard University in Washington, Morehouse in Atlanta, Meharry in Nashville, and Charles Drew in Watts, South Central Los Angeles. We also are the Black Doctors Association, the National Medical Association. We are the Black Nurses Association. And we also partner with the National Urban League as well. And so we bring all of these forces together to provide the best possible information that we can by the most trusted parts of our community, our Black physicians and nurses who are speaking to our community, and now tonight through me to you. And the last thing I'll just say is that as Black health professionals, we Black. We live the same life you live, have the same lived experience. Dr. Tuesday Cook, just like us all, man. Listen, I have been stopped. I have been arrested. I have been in the jail for activities that white people don't enjoy. I have been stopped on backcountry roads with scary police departments. I've been through the same. I've had the talk. My father had the talk with me. I had the talk with my son. I had the talk with my grandsons when my son was killed by gunshot. We have lived the same lives everybody else. We have just as much distrust, just as much angry about things like the Tuskegee syphilis study, but we have fought our way through that because we have an undying love for Black people. We have an undying love for saving us at a critical time. And so I will turn it over to my brother, Dr. Cam Webb, then, who really understands the data and the statistics. And he certainly helps to understand with facts and data why you are so important and are so needed, and why our people are at such perilous risk at this moment. Dr. Webb?
Thanks so much, Dr. Tux. And I love being in this space because you always hype me up before I go, and I always send the hype right back. It's like when you're in the shop and somebody said, "Oh, that's a tough fade," and you're like, "I'm trying to be like you." It's just what we do. It's what we do. So I appreciate you for that. Again, I'm Cameron Webb. By background, I'm an internal medicine doctor and also a lawyer. I've been doing health policy and health equity work for a long time, trying to make sure that our communities get what we need in a range of health. And these I work senior policy advisor of equity on the White House COVID-19 response team. And I'm blessed to have the opportunity to engage with Dr. Tuxen, Dr. Thomas, and some of the other collaborators like Shea Moisture and others who are really so critical in this effort to make sure we're leaning into spaces that are those common trusted spaces in communities to connect people with information, with education, and with options, access to vaccines. And so I want to talk a little bit about where things stand, because you see there are about 330 million people in this country, but so far 156 million people are fully vaccinated against COVID-19. I'm gonna say that number again, because it's a big number. 156 million people in the United States are vaccinated against COVID-19. So while 600,000 people have died from this horrible disease, there are 156 million people who won't die because these vaccines are so effective at keeping folks from won't need to be hospitalized because these vaccines are so effective at keeping people from being hospitalized. And so that's the reason why we're here today. I can look across these boxes. I've been on calls with everybody except for Faith Fletcher, who I can't wait to hear from, because again, you got hyped up real heavy. Mayor Omar, he told us you about to break it down. So I'm excited. But you know, what's so interesting is that none of us are in this to sell a vaccine to anybody. That's not what we do. That's not our interest. We have no reason to do that. All of us are trying to help end a pandemic because of the impact it's had on our lives, on our families' lives, on our communities, on your businesses, on our society as a whole. So yes, those numbers are important. 156 million people vaccinated so far, but that's not uniform across the country. You know, the president set a goal of 70% of adults with at least one shot by this Sunday. And so far, for individuals over the age of 30% of people have received at least one shot. In that 18 to 29 age bracket, we still have some work to do. But here's the thing, that's not 70% in every community. Just last week, I was in Chicago, which is where I did my law school, and I was in a neighborhood called Inglewood. And in Inglewood, the vaccination rate was closer to 25%. Whereas in the city as a whole, it was about 66%. So the fact of the matter is, just because in New Hampshire or Vermont or Maine, they've got really high vaccination rates, that's not going to help you in Watts. That's not going to help you in DC. That's not going to help you in Charlotte. That's not going to help you in Atlanta. So that's why it's so important that we have these conversations, because ultimately our communities are counting on us, or as we say, we got us, right? This is one of those moments where we all have to say, what else can I do to make sure people in my community aren't left behind? And so nobody's going to be asking you to sell a vaccine. Nobody asked me to sell a vaccine. But what we will ask you to do is share people in your community information. With that, I'll pass it back to you, Dr. Thomas, and happy to be a part of the conversation this evening. Thank you all for stepping up, for raising your hand, and for being willing to do your part, to do a part in this path getting us back to normal. Dr. T.
Thank you. You know, one of the things that we've done consistently, and we'll show this is our third cohort onboarding, is to find out and kind of get a pulse beat, and we'll do that also for you. So I want my tech team to put the link in the chat. ladies and gentlemen, they're going to put a link in the chat, and we're going to do a word cloud. I want you to think about that. Omar, set them up for the word cloud.
Let me do this before we do anything. Being a person in radio, I want to make sure that our sponsors are recognized. The Black Coalition Against COVID, Shea Moisture, Barberside, and the School of Public Health at the University of Maryland. I want to make sure that you all are placed up front, because it's that kind of vision that's really going to make a difference. And the way that you all are collaborating and putting resources into this makes all the difference. And so I want to make sure that you all get recognized, and your kudos go out to our sponsors. Let me say this. I want you all to think about how you're feeling now. This is the time that we get a pulse of how we're feeling at this moment. And so if you could come up with a word that best describe how you are feeling at this moment, we want you to put it in this word cloud. And as we bring the word cloud up, you'll begin to see if the consensus of our thoughts and feelings, because the larger the word is, that's the more people have said that that's a word is for them.
So there's
And
a
so-
link. Tell them about the link in the chat.
The link is in the chat. And so you can go in there and just put in whatever word best describe how you are feeling now. We see determined and hyped, and I'm seeing tired, but I'm seeing optimistic and eager and positive. I'm seeing some words. Let's continue to put those words in as quickly as we can, and we're going to do that for about a minute, and then we're going to continue our conversation.
And Mr. Mayor, that says many words, just one word at a time. So let them keep going.
Yeah, just as many words that you like, just one at a time. And we're going to see how this kind of unfolds. I'm seeing, encourage is staying up there. And in fact, it's kind of, everybody is thinking about the same thing, because there's no word that's really jumping out, but all of them seemingly are in the same place. Look at inspired. Just got a boost.
Now, Mr. Mayor, we have some people putting the words in the chat. So I want my tech team, Meg, if you're seeing that, take those words that are in the chat and go ahead and add them to the word cloud.
You see how determined came?
Look how big it is.
Look how hopeful and
determined. They're
determined.
influencing one another. Look at that.
Right. You see what I'm saying? Look at that. And you can put as many words in. If you see a word that you like, you can put it in again. Say, I want to add, I want to boost that word. It made me feel a certain kind of way. Go ahead and boost that word. Hopeful it seemingly is running ahead of everybody else. It's like I'm doing a horse race. So no, but hopeful is the most dominant word that's up there now. Hopeful. And so let's let me do this. Let me bring Faith on, and Faith, kind of tell me what you see with those words. Give me your word and tell me how you're interpreting what you're seeing.
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be on this panel. And thank you, Mayor Neal, for hyping me up. So I also get the ultimate hypeness from So I definitely, I see the hopeful aspect. I think for, so long, many people were very anxious about COVID-19. And, I also had concerns, as Dr. Tuckson asserted, that many health professionals, we have to do the same level of processing that, non-scientific audiences and non-health professionals do as it relates to this. So, but we got the information, we listened to trusted leaders, frontline providers, African-American providers. So I'm where everyone else is in terms of feeling hopeful and grateful to have access to vaccines, to have access to information, to have access to Black communities and networks who can really deliver and provide information that we can understand, that's translatable to scientific communities and non-scientific communities as well. So happy to be here and happy to meet all of you. And I look forward to ongoing engagement.
Say a little bit about your background, Faith.
Okay, so I'm a graduate of Tuskegee bioethics program. I also have a PhD in public health and health behavior. So a lot of my work over the past decade has really looked at understanding healthcare experiences of women living with HIV, healthcare engagement, understanding more about stigma, bias, discrimination, all the things that make people reluctant to engage in care, multiple types of care, including COVID-19 care. I also have had an opportunity to work with Dr. Thomas through training programs. So in the field of public health, he's very well respected, a wonderful mentor to many Black and Brown scholars. So again, I really appreciate this intergenerational mentorship and educational programs that we have.
All right.
You heard Tuskegee, didn't you? Right. Tuskegee is in the house. Represent, right?
Yes.
Right? Yeah, you know, much love. Tony, what you see, man? Tell me your word. Tell me what you see.
Optimistic. Extremely optimistic. Extremely optimistic. That's my word. I know that's 2 words, but optimistic is my word.
Yeah. You know, I know you were on last time, but you got a new audience now. Tell them a little bit about yourself and your shop and the newfound occupation that I didn't know you had until you told me later on. But go on and kind of introduce yourself to our audience.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tony Roberts. I'm the owner of Tony's Barber Studio at Atlantic Station, located in Atlanta, Georgia. Been a barbershop owner for 30 plus years, been a barber for 34 years. I'm also a pastor, the pastor of Victory Worship Center in Stone Mountain, Georgia, pastored there for 25 years, and extremely happy to be among this esteemed panel of experts in this. And I'm really just willing to be used as a tool, my barbershop as a location, to get the word out, to encourage people to get vaccinated, because that's what's going to save our community. And that's what's going to keep us healthy and get us back to where we need to be. And there's some information I think is coming forward a little bit that kind of ramps up everything when we're talking about this new variant that's out there. So I want to thank everyone who has taken the time out to join us tonight. And that's a little bit about me. And I'm hoping that as we go forward in this session, that everyone else will become more optimistic about becoming vaccinated and spreading this information to your clientele. That is the biggest part. If you have barbers or stylists that are not vaccinated, you want to encourage them to do so. And I know it's a personal choice, but it's a choice that's going to save their life and the lives of those that they love.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Tony. Aaron, come on, man. Tell us your word and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. I'm excited about you. I can't tell you this every time because I'm really excited about this concept of really not just dealing with the symptoms, but going deeper and dealing with the problems and taking care of not only our physical health, but our mental, emotional, and spiritual health as well. Tony, trying to introduce yourself. Tell us your word first.
Yes, my word is empowered and enlightened. The enlightened actually came about today. I got a call from a mom who her son is not turning on his camera for summer school. So hey, can you reach out to my son, talk to him? He's not gonna learn anything if he doesn't turn on his camera. So I reached out to the family and talked with her and shared a little bit about our Men's Health Center. And she said, Mr. Perry, can my son come over to your men's center and do summer school? You have the space, I've seen it. And I had to call the barber, the owner of the barber shop, to make sure that was okay. And so I called and talked with him, and he said, absolutely, Aaron. And so he said, in addition to him coming over, we will hire him to sweep the floor. So in between his little breaks, he'll sweep the floor at the barber shop. But we get this young man over there, and I talked with him, and I would have never had this conversation if it wasn't for Shots at the Shop. I talked with this young man, and I said, are you vaccinated? And he's not. He's 15. He's not vaccinated. No one's really had the conversation with him. And so we got to talking about it. And I said, we're going to get you vaccinated. He said, is it okay if I call some of my guys? I said, are they vaccinated? He said, no. I said, well, we're going to get them all in. So we got a 15 passenger bus. We're going to coordinate with this one kid who I stumbled upon today and open up a hole. And that's where the enlighten comes from, because I had no idea that these young kids who the community is afraid of, nobody's talking to them about getting vaccinated. So we just literally stumbled on a whole nother group. And again, it's the barbershop. And so that's my truth today.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting, Aaron, there's no such thing as happenstance. Everything is providence, right? And you were just a vehicle. Amen, Tony, right?
Amen.
Amen.
All right, okay. All right. So now we recognize that you know, we have opportunity here. And I think that if I looked at my word, it would be that of opportunity. Opportunity to do something that is epic, which is to save lives. There is nothing greater that a human being can do for another human being than to save their lives. No greater love. I think I heard that somewhere, Tony. What does it say? No greater love, something. What is it? That a man will lay down his life
for a friend.
for a friend. It's something. It was, you know, I've been to church a couple of times. I'm a CME. That's a I go to church Christmas, Mother Days, and Easter. So but the point of the matter is this: we are at a point where we literally can make something happen. You know, Reed, I didn't get your word and your interpretation of what you see on the screen.
Well, I think this is I think this word hope is really the key word. But we all know one thing, that hope, while important to motivate us, is not a plan. You got to translate hope into action, and this is all now right about action. So I think my word is action. This is the time to save Black life. And so as this show goes on, I really am looking forward to all of the questions that the audience has about anything that you want to know that makes you uncomfortable about the vaccine, or that makes the people in your chairs uncomfortable with the vaccine. We really want to give you the answers straight around, no fooling around. Speak to anything that you have on your mind that will make you more comfortable in your role as providing good factual information. So hopeful is great, but hope needs to be partnered with action. We've never saved anybody's life by hoping. It's always been by action that has been motivated and blessed by hope.
Well, you know, thanks so much, Reed. Now, Cameron, you know, you told me you don't want to go behind Dr. Cook again, so I'm gonna let you go with your word now. In that you shared that with me before, and go with your word and tell me, what are you seeing? What are you, kind of give me an interpretation of what you're seeing on the board?
Yeah, well, you know, I think what's popping out to me is a combination of words. I'm seeing frustrated, I'm seeing anxiety, I'm seeing antsy, tired, worry, I'm seeing frustrated, you know, and I think that it's, you know, a lot of times in moments like this, we're drawn to the positive, to that ray of hope. But I think it's just as important for us to realize that those sentiments, that frustration, that anxiety, that fatigue, feeling tired, those are the experiences that people are having all around us in our communities. Those are truly the sentiments of the communities where we live. And so being able to tap into that, to bring that into that conversation, to bring that into the space, and not just bring, even though it's so important, not just bring the hope or the gratitude or the education or the determination, but to bring the fear, the frustration, and the anxiety, and to say, hey, I'm here with you. I see you. I connect on that same level. I'm right there. But let me tell you why in that space I decided to get vaccinated, or in that space I decided to get more information. That's one of the most powerful things that I think can come out of this, is just the fact that, you know, we are just like the people around us in so many ways. So I see really a lot of community on on this word cloud. And I think that all of these sentiments are important, are valued, and are the key to our success.
Yeah, before I bring Dr. Tuesday Cook on to give us her word and interpretation of the word cloud, I want you to also put in any questions that you might have in the chat, any conversations that you've had in your shop, whether or not the barbershop or salon. Just kind of let us know what's the scuttlebutt, if you will. What's the dialogue that's happening in your salon and barbershop, so we can kind of start that out as a conversation. All right, Dr. Tuesday Cook, you got the last word. You got the power.
Thanks for that power. You made me go after all these wonderful people. So I'll introduce myself to the new cohort. I am Tuesday Cook. I am a fellowship trained minimally invasive and bariatric surgeon. That just means that I do big operations and weight loss surgery through very small holes. I take care of, the majority of my patients are people of color. So Latinx, Black people, brown people, we're all the same, people with high pigment. And I enjoy that. And that's actually one of the missions for why I went to medical school. I went to Howard for medical school, and I went to Howard for my residency as well. And then I did fellowship in Pennsylvania. But, really and truly, my mission for even becoming a physician was to take care of the people in my community. And so I keep that as a main goal as I practice anything, as I practice surgery, as I join committees, and as I learn legislation, as I try to delve into helping with public health. All those things are part of my mission. And so, looking at the word cloud, what I put in was cautiously optimistic, because that's really how I feel. I felt every single word in this cloud. And I actually feel every single word in this cloud to varying degrees. And so, the ones that say anxiety and worried and antsy, I definitely feel that. I felt it more at the beginning of the pandemic. And as I learned a little bit more and I took care of patients and we learned more and got more information and read articles, et cetera, and studied and spoke to people, I had a little bit less of that. And as the vaccine came out, a little bit less. And then as I learned about the vaccine, but still didn't know enough, I felt more of it. And then as I learned enough to get the vaccine, I felt less. And so now that we have some variants coming out and, we have mandates being dropped for masking, and we have more people out and about who may or may not be vaccinated and who may or may not get sick again and who may increase the numbers in the hospitals, those things have me feeling a bit antsy again, a bit anxious again, and cautiously optimistic. I'm glad that I can go out and take my daughter, who is too young to be vaccinated, and still have her wear her mask and double mask and make sure we go places that are safe. So I feel optimistic about that part, but I still feel a little worried with regards to where we need to be. We're not where we need to be. And the, just getting there. I think that word hopeful is a wonderful one. I agree with Dr. Tuckson. Hope without action means nothing. But the fact that the people who are feeling antsy and worried and frustrated that are here demonstrate that those people still have that hope and have the means by which are taking the means to open up their shop and do whatever they can at whatever level they can to make sure that we get as a community to where we need to be. So the people who typed in hopeful are some of those same people who are worried, but you're actually taking, action into your own hands to say, okay, well, this is how I can help and this is how I'm going to help. And I feel good about that. It increases my optimism and increases my caution.
Thank you so much. You just given me a segue. You and Dr. Tuckson gave me a segue talking about action. Let's go into the shop, Dr. T, and let's show people how salons and barbershops, but we're going to go into a salon and show how they can be centers for information dissemination, but not only that, they can be centers for health.
Absolutely. And so you're going to meet Katrina, and she has literally turned her shop into a vaccine clinic. She's going to share with you in a very short clip what it was like for her. Okay, tech team, roll tape.
Welcome to Shots at the Shop, and today we're at Katrina's
Trey Shades Hair Studio in Capitol Heights, Maryland, which has been amazing.
My favorite part is saving lives, seeing people get vaccinated, because a lot of people are hesitant to get vaccinated. So if I can advocate and encourage them, I'm excited to do so.
A lot of people just don't trust the system. So we have to take the time to answer their questions. And what better place to do that than in a place they already trust?
They can dispel some myths and misinformation that's out there, and then they can refer them to others with, more specific questions.
I've honestly seen about 25 to 30 of my clients go from, no, I'm not getting that vaccine, to sure, I'll get vaccinated or show up at your clinic on Monday.
I got my vaccination. I was comfortable with coming here. I actually feel comfortable here than I would at a normal clinic.
I like it because I know this place is not like it's not strange or anything.
You truly are, barbers and stylists, a trusted voice in the community, and we want to tap into your expertise and be a good community partner.
It's just for us to be knowledgeable in these health disparities so that we can have conversations behind our chair, because I believe that we're more than just a hairstylist. We're touching people just like doctors and nurses do.
Any barbershop that wants to hold a vaccine clinic in their place of business will find you a clinical partner.
So we can bring in all the clinical expertise.
I say just do it. Just work on saving lives, keep advocating for the community, bringing more people in, and I do believe that having a vaccine clinic at a salon is well worth it.
It worked here at Trey Shades, and it could work in your barbershop or beauty salon as well.
Yes, son, you're fully vaccinated. It was a great day.
That's powerful, Dr. T. That's really powerful.
Let's give Katrina some snaps here. Come on now.
Absolutely.
You know what was so interesting? Because we were able to vaccinate youth ages 12 and up. Whole families came, Reed. Cam, Dr. Webb, grandmothers brought their grandkids. We had an 84-year-old mom, well, she was a great grandmother, who brought her great grandkids, and they're there taking photos of the kids like it's a birthday party. They were celebrating. We had people who came in hesitant with all their reasons. We all have our reasons, but left vaccinated because of the way they were treated at the shop. We created a party atmosphere. We had a DJ, we had music, we had food. That family relationship feeling, that's what helps people address some of the anxiety they have. We need to take the time to answer their questions. So this is what we wanted you to see what's possible. If you've done vaccine clinics in your shop and you have clips, news stories, please send those. We're encouraging, this is a big weekend coming up. So if you have events scheduled, you have anything on the books, we need to know that so that we can promote your local activities. And then identifying a clinical partner. We're working with the National Association of City and County Health Officials. That will be a link to your local clinical partner, maybe a local hospital, and maybe your local health department. So we've got all the pieces here. And let me just clear something up. We're not asking the barbers or the stylists to give the injection. I had to say that because that was going around, I think, trying to maybe frighten people a little bit. We bring the clinical professionals that do that work. You do what you do, which is provide a sense of security and trustworthy environment for the community.
So let's really nail that one, Stephen. I think that's such a good point. So he mentioned this organization, the National Association of City and County Health Officials. All that is the local public health departments. They're standing by. All they need to know, and we'll make sure they know it. All they need to know is a barbershop on, name such and so on 4th and Vine is ready to do a vaccination. They then will bring the assets and the resources to you. You're not going to be out there on your own. There are people literally standing by, waiting to be your partner. And so that's a really important point for you.
And one of the things that's excellent, and Reed, this is something that I'm always hopping on is whether or not we're going to be able to access or get to those smaller communities. Every community has a health department. And so that addressed that issue. So kudos, that's wonderful partner for us to have.
And
Great
you know,
point.
you know what else, Omar?
Yeah,
Even the small communities have a barbershop or a beauty salon.
I agree with that too.
That's what-
You're right. And
that's
they
why
certainly have a church.
Yes.
Amen. So,
Amen.
you know,
They're like Atlanta, they have a barbershop on every corner.
yeah, and a church on F2 on every corner. At least. Let me get into this conversation, because I do want us to have a barbershop conversation. You all are having conversations, and I think it's important for us to know how to have a conversation about something as sensitive as vaccines and viruses and whether or not you're going to take a vaccine or not. I think the best approach is to first seek to understand and then to be understood, right? Let's just listen to people and find out where they're coming from, right? So I want to go to my home girl, Faith, because she's from Tuskegee, not from Tuskegee, but she went to Tuskegee. So anybody ever go to Tuskegee, they from Tuskegee, right? That's how we see it. And Reed, we need to have you come down so you can be baptized with the spirit of Tuskegee too. So
I'm going to say this, we got to get to other issues, but I've been down to Tuskegee, and I was there to celebrate the first anniversary of the setting up of a museum for the victims of that Tuskegee syphilis experience.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. I just want to just say real quickly to everybody there, I got ready to give my talk, but the survivors gave their talk. You know what they said?
What?
We forgive.
Absolutely.
And you know what? I just finished filming a whole set of films. You're in it with other people who are descendants. And you know what? All of them are vaccinated. So
Right.
Everybody that wants to use the Tuskegee experience as some reason why we shouldn't be vaccinated, you need to know that the children and the grandchildren of those people have all said, you want to honor the legacy of our people and what they suffered for? Get vaccinated.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said that, because I don't care where you were born, Reed. When you came to Tuskegee, you just made it home. So let me go. Faith, you deal with not just COVID-19, but you deal with a lot of issues. When people have had mistrust for years and years and years of systems that they don't feel value them as humans, fully human. When we have situations where people are going into hospitals now, and Dr. Cook talked about it, and they see that they are treated not the same way as other people are treated. They somehow are, if they don't have insurance, they somehow are dealt with differently, and they feel a certain kind of way, right? How do you get those people past those moments? How do we have that conversation with them, Faith?
Yeah, great question, Mayor Neal. And Dr. Thomas started off the conversation. He said trust, but he also said trustworthiness. And I think, this conversation, and we're having more and more conversations that really acknowledge people's concerns, people's reluctance to get vaccinated or to engage in healthcare broadly. So that's the first aspect. So, we saw a lot of articles, the media was calling African Americans distrustful. We used a lot of language that was very disparaging, like people are vaccine hesitant, but this forum is an example. If you provide people with information and education, you can move them from being hesitant or concerned to being confident as it relates to vaccination. So I think that's the first part. We have to realize that people are not static. Behavior is very fluid, and a lot of concerns and reluctance really is sometimes linked just to a lack of information and education. So that's the first aspect. The second piece of it is when it comes to engaging in healthcare, I think, again, we all have concerns. I really appreciate Dr. Tuckson for highlighting, even as like one of the top medical professionals, we have concerns because we have these same lived experiences. When I move to a city, the first thing I ask for is a referral. I need a Black OB, I need a Black dermatologist, I need a Black primary specialist, and I need a Black stylist. And this is very much network because I want to make sure that the people that are being referred to me, that I can trust them. So trust is the root of all of this. So again, as we're having these conversations, we just have to, really rely on our networks. And I think what makes this forum so magnificent and so relevant to us is that it's Black professionals leading and having these conversations. Like right now, we're having conversations about who's getting funding to do structural racism work. Who are we relying on? Are these African Americans or these Black and brown people who are really getting the funding to lead? So I think, again, we have an opportunity right now to really lean into the work that's being done by our Black leaders. So I really appreciate Dr. Thomas, Mayor Neal, and everyone else on this call who's doing this work to really engage other people. And I think through our networks, through more conversations, through more dialogue, I wish these conversations would have happened a little earlier with stylists and barbers, but we know that there were limitations to that. So now we're at a just optimal place to really encourage other people to get vaccinated and to bring those over who may have concerns.
Cameron, I want to talk a little bit about when we know something is imminent, there is a heightened sense of energy, heightened sense of in terms of activity, action, as Dr. Tuckson said. It's a heightened sense of action. Are we matching, in your opinion, and I know you work at the White House, but I want to ask you this question. Are we matching the energy with the imminence of the danger that is lurking through the Delta variant that is seemingly increasing in our country?
Well, that's a tough question because a lot of times we describe this entire pandemic as a national phenomenon. So we say, is the country matching that energy? But in fact, the way the virus spreads, the way that people experience this pandemic is very local, it's very personal, and it's very up close. So I will say that in some places there is that very vigorous energy to do everything that we can do to stop the spread of that virus. That's why you have some communities that are over 90% vaccinated. That energy is palpable. You have other communities where those rates are much lower. And part of that is the disinformation, the misinformation, and the misdirection. People need to understand, and this is one of the most disheartening things, some of the myths that are out there were deliberately planted by people to conflate and confound. And so it's not just that somebody randomly stumbled upon some bad information. People are just throwing bad information into the fire. They're fanning the flames. They're trying to confuse people. So I think with the Delta variant, I do think there's a lot of information out there about it. I think people recognize that it spreads faster, that it causes more illness. So we're seeing more hospitalizations with it. But I think that at the end of the day, a lot of people want to believe that this pandemic is over. So many people want to believe that it's over. So many people tore off their mask a couple of weeks back and they were just like, I'm never going back. That's the end of the Rona. It's not over, right? It's kind of like when, you have a prize fighter who's got their opponent who's staggering backwards. They need to throw that one more punch. But if they just sit on it and then let the bell ring, and then that opponent gets that minute to get a breather, comes back in swinging haymakers, that's what we're up against right now, right? So we've got an opponent who's staggering, whose legs are a little wobbly. I think communities are ready for that. They're ready to bring that energy. In other communities, we need barbers and stylists, faith leaders, community-based organization leaders, health professionals, moms, cousins, uncles, friends, everybody kind of helping to push us over the edge.
Tony, I want to bring you on, and I want you to change your hat and put your clergy hat on for me. Okay. All right. Okay. Because I was talking to some people in Florida, were listening to my show on yesterday, and they were saying God got me, right? And that's that I believe in God, and if whatever happens, it's the will of God. And so, that's the lack of faith is when you get vaccinated. How do you respond to something like that?
Well, first of all, the word of God says, in all of your getting, get understanding. In the book of James, James said, faith without works is dead. It's wonderful to have faith. And I believe that faith is optimal. But by the same token, you have to do something. At our church, I tell our people all the time, there is a prerequisite for every promise. There's something you've got to do to get what God has. So action is the most powerful thing you can do. There's one other scripture, not to scripture you to death, but there's one other one that says to love not in word alone, but in deed and in action. Even that talks about what you do mattering more than what you say. A lot of people can say they have faith, but if your actions don't line up with what you say, then it's worthless. It falls to the ground. In this, as pertains to this, we believe as pastors and ministers and elders and bishops that God has given the scientists, the doctors, rule in this area. That's why I'm vaccinated, and so many other of my pastoral clergy colleagues are vaccinated. And I encourage everybody that's listening to me now, you've got to do something. It's wonderful to have faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. It's the evidence of things not seen. We already had a gentleman talk about hope. Hope is great, but you've still got to do something. You have to match that hope, marry that hope with action. And I believe the right action to take in this era is getting vaccinated. Absolutely.
You know,
let the church say amen. Let the church say amen. And Pastor Roberts is going to be sending around the collection plate a little bit later. I saw Dr. Cook was.
You know, I was looking for it. I was looking for the collection plate. I was looking.
Yes,
for it.
We'll be sending our tithe. And what's your cash app? What's your cash app, Pastor?
It is Studio 509.
Now he's gonna go back to his barbershop, man.
Code switching.
Yeah. You know, let's go to you, Dr. Tuesday Cook. You know, we agree that when people get the right information, and more importantly, I think Tony was correct. You know, when they get understanding, then they naturally gravitate to take care of themselves. How do we now? Because you know it's so muddled. Cameron was correct when he said that there are people who are engaged in disinformation campaigns to confuse people, right? How do we cut through that and just put it where the cows can get it and just talk to people in real terms to the point that it creates the kind of critical mass that we need to get our people, Black people, I'm being very specific, Black people vaccinated?
Yeah, so I think that's an excellent question. First of all, I need to just, raise my hand. I was about to jump up and do a praise dance, Pastor Roberts. I cannot let anything that you say, I want to make sure everybody heard everything you said. All those scriptures, yes. My middle name is Faith, and so Faith, I feel like you're a sister from another mister because it is real. It's real. And faith is really what we have to have in the people who are for our community. You have to have faith in your docs who have been taking care of you for a long time, who have walked you through the death of your husband, who have walked you through, the incorrect arrest of your son, who have walked you through getting your diabetes, your hypertension, your high cholesterol under control, all the things that we know plague our communities more than they do anyone else in this country. So really sticking close to your physician is a big deal. Getting information from trusted sources. That's why you all are here. That's why, these barbershops and salons are so important because they are ingrained in our communities. And so when we are able to read the articles and, we have all these, degrees or whatever, none of these degrees matter if our people aren't going to listen to us, right? So the reason that we have these degrees, the reason that we study, the reason that we learn, the reason that we legislate, the reason that we come on webinars late in the night is because we want to make sure that we impart all of the information, everything that we learned to other people. So we are soldiers. Then we have another infantry that's going to go out and speak to the masses. So really using the sources that we have, and it's the sources that everybody else uses, you know. Yes, we have people who are spreading disinformation, but there's access to real information. And this is one of the ways to get it. Your physician, your clergyman, you know, in your church, listen to what they're saying. Hopefully they're also reading and listening to their healthcare professionals, coming here, going on the CDC website, easily accessible things for people who have access to the internet. And now libraries are opening up more. People even go to the library, go online, just Google on your phone, you know, Google CDC COVID-19 vaccine. Put in the myth that you know about. You know, someone in the chat asked about, well, you know, can people who want to get pregnant get this vaccine? Yes, you can. You know, one of my friends who's actually one of the smartest people I know, she is triple boarded and she's a maternal fetal medicine, OBGYN, you know, and she was pregnant and she went on that line and was like, I will take my vaccine. Thank you very much. You know, because she wanted to get that passive immunity. And that was something that someone else asked in the chat. And I think I answered in the chat, but just to put it here and be clear, she wanted passive immunity for her infant, for her fetus rather, for her baby that was unborn. Now, I tell you, this lady is one of the smartest people I've ever known, ever. Nigerian chick. I went to med school with her. She got every award ever. And she read, she researched, and she got her vaccine. You know, the three organizations that are the main organizations regarding COVID-19 vaccination and, you know, maternal health and fetal health, you know, ACOG, which is, you know, the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, the Association for Maternal Fetal Medicine, and the CDC, they all agree that the vaccine is safe for women of childbearing age. Pregnant women should be offered it because you have worse outcomes in pregnancy if you get COVID-19 versus if you get the vaccination. The vaccination, again, you know, we're not dying. Those deaths, you know, those deaths really have gone down. So going to trusted resources, not listening to whoever and wherever, whatever, you know, going to people who know and who've read. And if you're not sure, and this is what I do for my patients, I make them say it back to me. Well, what did I say? Because I want to make sure you understand. If I need to explain it at the 5th grade level, I don't care if you didn't finish the 6th grade. I don't care. What I care about is if you understand and you can use the information that I gave you to make a good decision for your health. Just like Dr. Webb said at the beginning, we're not here to sell vaccines. We're not here. I don't get any kickbacks. Lord, if I did, I would retire from surgery. I love doing surgery, but I would retire if I got a kickback. We're not here for that. What we're here for is to make sure that you have the information that you need at the level at which you can receive it for anybody, the level at which you can, you know, disperse the same information to your clients who come and see you and who trust you. You know, those are the ways that we really can get the information out and get true information out. And, you know, we want to see more questions in the chat. We've been answering some in there. You know, I tried to address the one about menstruation. It doesn't, there have been reports, anecdotal reports of the COVID-19 vaccine altering menstruation, but lots of things can, right? You know, you eat pineapple. If you are in a house with multiple women, changes. If you have stress, high cortisol levels can change your menstrual cycle. So, you know, though there are anecdotal reports of changing of the menstrual cycle with COVID-19 vaccination, that is not, there's no real research that says for sure this is what happens if you get it. So no, it doesn't cause infertility. It doesn't generally change your menstruation, but if it does, it goes back to normal. It's fine during pregnancy, fine for childbearing ages. And any other questions, please put in the chat and we're happy to discuss it or to answer it, either answer it live or answer it in the chat so everyone can read it, but really go into trusted sources.
And yes, go ahead.
Oh, no. Well, I know there's one question that always comes up and Dr. Cameron Webb is really good at answering it. And that is, I know that people out there want to know what's in this vaccine.
Yeah.
Dr. Webb, you really teach me this all the time, but let's make sure that nobody leaves this meeting wondering what's in the vaccine.
Yeah, such an important one. It was one of the first ones that I asked. I was like, I need to see what's in it before I'm willing to put it in my body. That's just being a rational, thoughtful human being. So the way I described it, there are 4 things that are in this vaccine. The first is the messenger RNA. We're talking about the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, by the way. The first thing is the messenger RNA itself. That's the key, because what it does is it creates this version of a part of the virus. It creates the spike protein, which is just a small piece of the broader virus. But what it does is it's the part that every single virus has every single coronavirus has. And so it teaches your body how to recognize that and how to fight against it. So in other words, that messenger RNA sends a message to the cell and it says, hey, if you see this spike, if you see this protein, attack. It's time to fight. That's what it does, right? So that's the first ingredient in the vaccine is the messenger RNA. The thing about messenger RNA is that it's not stable in the body very long. In fact, it would dissolve, break down, and never make it into the cell if it weren't protected. So the second ingredient is called a lipid layer. It's these different fats, a fat layer. And what that does is it encircles that messenger RNA, it protects it so that it's able to make its way to the cell. And mind you, it never goes into the nucleus of the cell where the DNA is. It just goes to the outer part of the cell where it can access part that proteins. Never goes into that DNA part of the cell. But anyway, so you got the messenger RNA, you've got the fat layer to protect that messenger RNA. The third thing are salts. Those salts are to match your body's normal acid-base balance, or pH, because again, that messenger RNA and those lipids, they would break down in your body if they didn't have some buffering and some protection. So that's what the salts are for. And then the fourth thing are sugars, because that fat layer, because the vaccines are stored at cold temperatures, they would all stick together if they didn't have sugars kind of keeping them apart. And so you have those four ingredients: messenger RNA, lipids or fats, salts, and sugars. You put that together, and it's really all just a mechanism to deliver that message to the cell to teach your body how to fight.
And I'm so glad
it's
that
not the virus. They're not putting the virus in you, right?
No,
I just want
so the way I describe it, and I'll break this down for the Alabama folks who are in the room. You remember the coach for the University of Paul Bear Bryant, he always wore a cap, a
right.
houndstooth fedora, right?
Right.
Think of the spike protein as the houndstooth fedora. What the vaccine does is it teaches your body to recognize the hat. It doesn't show your body all of Paul Bear Bryant, just the hat. Because anytime you see Bear Bryant, you're going to see the hat. And so what it's doing is it's teaching your body just to recognize that hat. It never introduces the whole thing into your body. It just teaches your body about that hat. And by doing that, it's teaching your body how to fight the virus, because the virus is never going to show up without that hat, without that spike protein. And so that's what's really dynamic, what's really important about this. And so when people are worried, oh, it gives you COVID, it's not possible for this vaccine to give you COVID, because it doesn't have the pieces of a COVID virus. It just has that one piece, the spike protein, that's so important for the body to recognize so it knows how to fight.
And the other thing, Omar, that's just so important in Dr. Webb's analysis is, again, remember, the vaccine does not get to where the DNA is. So you cannot affect the DNA of anybody with this. And so it is so important to do that. By the way, I think the other thing we want to make sure that every one of our brothers, because we know somebody will be shy about asking it, know the vaccine cannot do anything to your ability to take care of business in the bedroom. This is completely not there. So if you got those issues, you got them issues. They ain't got nothing to do with the vaccine. Let's just, I know there are gonna be some people shy about raising it, so let me just go ahead.
Well, we'll just go put it where the cows can get it then.
That's right.
Doc. I mean, you know, now you know what? All right, Cameron. So now you endeared yourself to me even greater now that you brought Alabama up. Okay. All right. So now you're in the house. Let's do a couple of things. One is, let's do a poll now. I want to kind of see what people are thinking. And we're going to do that. Then Aaron, I hadn't talked to you in a minute, man. I got to bring you into the fold. I see you there. You know, I believe you me. I know you're there. We're going to do a poll, and then we're going to bring you in, because again, I'm so impressed with how you think and how you are able to capsulate those small nuances of things that you're going through in a way that is palatable to our people. So we're going to talk about that.
Let me tell
Let's do a poll.
Tech team, go ahead, take over the screen, pull up the poll question, and we're going to let our audience know that you'll be able to vote when you see this. So go ahead and pull that up, and here we go. So you'll see a link in the chat, and you can now the voting is open, and I want our panelists to also go in and vote. And the question is, have you been vaccinated for COVID-19? And you don't have to register. You can skip registration. Go ahead and enter your, okay. All right, Omar, are we seeing?
Yeah, I'm doing it, man. You know, you know, I have to do what everybody else is doing, even though I'm hosting.
Well, you know what's interesting
All right.
is that we may well have early adopters here. And that's what I'm saying about this first wave of barbershops and salons that have come on board, Dr. Cook, are early adopters, people who have committed themselves to helping their community beyond just, you know, how good they look. You heard Katrina say, we touch people like doctors and nurses touch people. And you're going to hear from Aaron, the mental health issues that he is able to address through the barbershop. I don't think this is inaccurate that we have 100% vaccinated. And we have some comments coming in the chat versus the poll, but it's the same. So we got some coming in on planning, but not yet. And we're going to help you. It's one of the things that the barbers and stylists have told me, Mr. Mayor, is that, and we've heard it from Dr. Tuesday Cook, how can you advance something that you haven't done yourself? Yeah. So when you've experienced it yourself, you're able to help your clients.
I got a saying, Doc, that says you can't teach what you don't know, and you can't lead where you don't go.
Okay.
So that's important, right? But, you know, again, you know, we all on a journey. And the other thing is too, and as Aaron was talking about it, we are probably going to get some people who are stylists and barbers to get vaccinated in their clinic when they have that's going to be powerful.
And when that happens, we want you to, you know, send us a photo of FaceTime, and it's a source of encouragement for others. So we do have some variability here, and that's good. And each one of the people who've said yes, no, or planning have their motivations. Am I right? We all have our reasons.
Right.
And
part of it is let's have the conversation. Let's not just say I'm this way for whatever reason, yes, no, or maybe so, right? Let's just have the conversation so that we continue to get information. Let me say this. I've done this multiple times. I don't even know how many times we've had town hall meetings, right? But I learned something every time. There has never been a time that I've hosted, moderated this forum that I have not learned something. If I'm doing it every time, we can always learn. And that's what's very important. Faith was correct. We got to be open to learning, right? And not only do we get information, but we need to get understanding. Right. So we're ending up at like 90%. That's real good.
That's awesome. And we are going to give you the tools you need to help your clients also get vaccinated. And you were going to throw it to Aaron, and after that, I think we have to go back and address this Tuskegee issue. It's still in the papers today,
right,
about it being the reason Black folk are not being vaccinated, and I think we do have to address that before we close out.
Right. We got 3 Tuskegee people, and I'm adding Reed Tuckson in this mix with us. So you are now adopted as a Tuskegee man, right? All right. So do you accept, sir?
There he is.
Okay.
Willingly, sir. Willingly.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let's do this. Aaron, tell us what you're thinking, man, because we got to figure out a way. One is 4th of July is coming up, man. You know, it's scaring me. I'm telling you, if it's any one thing that's scaring me, is that I know how we act at the 4th of July, particularly when we miss one. So we didn't have a real 4th of July last time, right? So people are going to hype the 4th of July like they've never done before because they want to get back into the sense of normalcy. How do we now bring this to the community to say, hold your horses? get vaccinated so you can protect yourself and your family and your clients even.
Mhm. Yeah, you know, one of the areas that I tend to focus on, because we're in Wisconsin, we're in the Midwest, and Wisconsin is predominantly white. And so when we talk about doing vaccinations, when we reach out to some of the pharmacies that have vaccines, the folks that typically will be coming over to do the vaccinations, they're white males and white females. And so what I've gotten together with my Black firefighters, we've knocked on the doors and we said, man, we need your help. If we do a vaccine clinic, can you guys come and administer the shots? At least that gives that look that there are Black people, particularly if someone is uncomfortable. And so for the barbershops that find themselves in predominantly white communities, get creative and reach out to your fire departments, because they have a lot of Black firefighters. Reach out to your medical students who are Black. They can also administer those shots under the supervision of their professor. And so these are some of the creative things that we've been doing. Also, in addition to that, the barbershops that I'm affiliated with, the ones that I have my men's health clinics in, it's by appointment only. And so whenever someone comes in and they said, no, I'm not going to take the shot, I see when that appointment is rescheduled for them to come back in, the night before, I'm calling them, say, hey, man, because we got to continue to work on them. And I said it before, I love you too much not to have this conversation with you. And so a lot of the guys are warming up to it. But again, just for those barbershops, Black barbershops that are in predominantly white communities, if you have your clientele that is very hesitant or non-trusting, reach out to the firefighters, get those Black firefighters to come in there and administer those shots, utilize your universities and your nursing schools, and find those Black students, because they all have them. And so these are kind of the workarounds that we're really focused on, because when you're talking about the mental health of individuals, that non-trust is huge. And so these are kind of ways we're trying to counter that.
Right.
And Aaron, the very people you're describing are also learning about the Black experience. And for some of them, they're learning in more detail about the Tuskegee study. And they're alarmed because they didn't get that background and training. And so that becomes a framework within which they think, oh, this is why Black folk don't want the vaccine. But as Omar has said several times, we have to contextualize this in a much better way.
Absolutely. And Reed, I want to bring you in now, because we're going to show the video that both you and I are in. And I want you to kind of give the audience the background on this video, how it came about, who were the players, because let me say this. I have to say, I've been a part of a lot of things. This was one of the most professional setups I've seen, right? And been a part of. And you were very much integral to this. So lay it out for us. I'm gonna let you set up the video as we get ready.
I'll do it really, really fast, and respecting the audience out there. As I mentioned earlier, we all know that so many people use this terrible experience of Black men being denied access to a drug that would have saved them. In this case, penicillin, which would have saved them from the disease of syphilis. And instead, what they did was just observe these brothers without giving them the treatment. We know that this is used over and over again by people to experience and express our distrust and anger in the society. But what was important was I got a chance to meet these descendants who knew who were the children and the grandchildren of these people that were through that. And what they wanted to know and wanted to say and wanted to have a chance to have their voices heard. So I was lucky enough to be able to partner with some filmmakers, and we were able to find the money to finance filming these people. And this is what you're getting ready to see, is the video that is just released a couple of days ago. We just rushed this through because it was so important for these men and women to get their message out about their loved ones.
And so tech team, go ahead and go full screen.
I've had someone tell me that they were concerned about getting the COVID vaccine because of the syphilis study. They didn't even know my grandfather was a part of the study.
Tuskegee is a very sacred place. There is no way you cannot feel history.
Think about the Tuskegee Airmen and all of the greatness that they did, and then to find out that in this same space, such an atrocious study was being heaped upon our men.
The study began in 1932.
Segregation and Jim Crow were the structures of how our society functioned.
What happened with the men and their families? It was the untreating of syphilis.
The original title of the study is Tuskegee Study of Untreated Syphilis in the Negro Male.
They were not treated for a disease that killed them, that made them blind.
My great-great-grandfather, John Good, he was of the clergy, he was a farmer. He was a syphilitic in the study, and our family really didn't talk about it.
Both of my great-grandfathers had been a part of that study. They were sharecroppers, and then later they were able to get land of their own.
On my right here is Alec Ware, we call him Big Daddy. On my left here is Papa Frank Cooper, and he went blind at a young age.
I am the daughter of one of the men in the study, Freddie Lee Tyson. I'm also the daughter of Johnny May Neal Tyson. I have to include my wonderful mother because the two of them was on the journey together.
My uncle used to always run after us. We'll get your ear, I'm gonna get, and we just run and run and run, and then we run right back to him.
My grandfather and I were phenomenally close. He worked as a firefighter where the Tuskegee Airmen trained. Actually caught my first fish with my grandfather.
My father had congenital syphilis from his mother.
There were a number of opportunities for the men to receive treatment, and they were very intentionally barred.
And everyone involved in that study wanted it to go untreated until their death. Their body would then be sent to be autopsied to see the effect.
Around 1947, penicillin became widely accepted and widely used. The doctors of the study prevented the men in the study from getting penicillin.
The first thing those doctors should have done for these gentlemen was to make sure that each and every one was treated.
It was the fall of '72. My brother Wallace read an article about the study. A couple of days later, my father received a phone call indicating that he was in the study.
When he found out what the study was really all about and that he had been used and treated as a guinea pig, there was just a lot of shame. I'm so sorry.
In comparing what's happening today with COVID, with what happened back in '32, I see more of a contrast than a similarity.
A lot of misinformation is out there that is causing people
All right, let's get
Yeah.
some snaps. Reed, Omar, thank
Absolutely
you
wonderful.
so very much. That's our first time seeing that. It's just being released. Everyone here in the audience will get this link in the email. You can share it with your families, your friends. We share it on your flat screen TVs in your barbershop. Tuskegee should not be the excuse for not
Right.
being vaccinated.
That was very powerful.
Yeah. You know what I want to do now, because we know that the time is we got just 8 minutes left, really, for based on what we've allotted. So we're going to talk about, why we're here, and what we are asking the people who are participating to do. And so, Dr. T, if you could kind of lay out just those things that we want them to consider before we begin to close out our discussion.
Well, one of the most important things is just to make sure that you have the information you need to educate your community. And so we have a training program online that we are asking you to participate in. It's a 4-hour training, but you can take it by participating in these town halls. We've been having open house every evening this week for helping people to log into the online learning platform. And we want you to begin as soon as possible. And one of the things that I want to say about Shea Moisture, which is one of the partners, they have put up resources to provide mini grants to all the shops that participate in the training and do activities in their shop, all the way up to doing vaccine clinics in their shop, distributing information about COVID in their shops, working with their local health departments. And by going through the training and getting your certificate, we send that off to Shea Moisture, and they have allocated $1,000 for every shop that is involved in this effort. And Dr. Cameron Webb may have at his fingertips what the numbers look like in terms of enrollment to where we are right now, and the things that you're looking at your end from the White House as we come up on the 4th of July to really get the momentum and the push as we go into this weekend.
Absolutely. So, I think the main thing is that as Dr. Thomas mentioned, Shea Moisture has pledged to do $1,000 for 1,000 shops. Well, as of yesterday, we're at about 900 shops that are registered. So there aren't a lot of spots left. Luckily, if you're on this call, you're already one of them that's already in. But if you have some friends in some other cities that you think would be interested in this, or in your town that you think would be interested, now's the time to spread the word, because again, we're getting pretty low on additional spots. As Dr. Thomas mentioned, this training is the first step. Dr. Tuckson and his colleagues with the National Association for County and City Health Officials, they're actually going to be the ones to reach out to you. So I see a question from Maria Salazar in the Q&A asking who's going to reach out to set up a day to put vaccines in the shop. So what Dr. Tuckson has set up is that his colleagues with the National Association for County and City Health Officials are actually going to reach out to your local health department. So wherever you live, they're reaching out to your local health department and saying, this shop in Vicksburg is interested in this particular initiative. Can you please connect them to set up a vaccination event? And and all the local health officials are then helping to set up those events. If you have any trouble, feel free to reach out to us. You see in the chat, there's an email address for questions, and we're happy to get information back to you as soon as possible. But really, that's the mechanism. It may not happen immediately after this call. It may be in a couple of days, because they're doing it as we get more and more folks trained. But understand that it's coming. And Dr. Thomas finally mentioned July 4th. It's a big deadline. We wanted to be at 70% of adults with at least one shot. But that's not the end of this pandemic. So we're going to continue doing this well beyond July 4th. So we don't expect that you're going to have your vaccination event done by July 4th necessarily. We want to do it as soon as possible, not because of a deadline that the president set, but because the deadline is this virus that's continuing to kill people and harm our communities. And so that's the reason why we want to do this as quickly as possible. Turn it back over to you, Dr. T.
So as you simply, you can send any questions you have to hair@umd.edu. And we also have a listserv that you'll be part of. And one of the most important things is that you start taking action now. You have more than enough to take action right now. So schedule an activity. That's one of the things that you're going to need to get your final certificate. You can schedule your activity. If it happens over this weekend, we want to capture any of the news reports, any of the clips, any photos that you send in, so we can lift up, amplify what you're doing. Get something scheduled on the books. You can distribute information from your shop to help people know where they can go to get vaccinated. And we have a resource from the Kaiser Family Foundation, door hangers, postcards will come to you at no cost in bulk. And over about 80 shops already have ordered materials that we sent that link to. We'll send that link out again as well. Those of you who have flat screen TVs, we have streaming information, streaming video that can go on your flat screen TV so that the education can occur in the ecosystem, in the environment of the barbershop. And those of you who still have radio shows, Black radio stations, in our area, they're coming in and broadcasting live right from the barbershop. These are the creative ideas and examples we want to share with each other.
Hey, do you have any chance, Brother Thomas? I know Omar is bringing us to closure, but Brittany McKenzie really has some important questions. Can you see those? Can you just hit those really fast? Because she's really cutting to the heart of the issue.
Okay, let me go and see if I can find it. Where
she asked, can you upload the link to the training class? Absolutely. You're all going to get the link to the training class and other materials. How long does it take to receive the certificate? There's some things that we want and need you to do to get your certificate. You're doing a major part of it right now by being in this training. There are 4 modules. These modules are 10, 15-minute modules in the training, and we would want you to complete those. As you complete the modules, it automatically lets us know that you've completed them. The certificate will be generated right as you complete the modules and will be sent to you. That certificate then will go to Shea Moisture to verify that you've completed the training. That's how you get in line for your mini grant. And then how do you go about setting up the event? Right now, if you have a shop and you would like to have an event, a clinic in your shop, we can connect you with a clinical partner through our work with the National Association of City and County Health Officials. So I hope I answered those questions. Tomorrow we have an open house. We go from 7 to 8 o'clock, and we do whatever hand holding people need to get into the platform, answer any additional questions that they may have. So we encourage you to come to the open house. There's a link there for the open house announcement as well.
Okay.
So this is a time to get fired up and ready to go as we go into this weekend, because families are getting together. They're talking about what's going on. Let's help them get as safe as possible.
All right, Dr. T. And with that, we are right at our closing time. I'd like to thank everybody. One is we ask that each of our panelists give us a closing statement, one that you want to leave with our listening, and I'm on radio listening audience. No, you can't get it out of me, So the people who are here today, our stylists and our barbers, leave them. I want you to start with Dr. Faith Fletcher. What message do you want to leave them with?
I would just say that we really have to focus as a community on changing the narrative. And this is exactly what we're doing today. We see 90% of us, approximately 90% of us are vaccinated. So we need to spread those messages and continue to encourage people, continue to do shows like this. Mayor Neal, the Black media, we need more people, again, changing the narrative, putting out positive messages, really reporting on those successes, because there's so many health leaders right now who are just doing on the ground work, amazing work. Dr. Alice Stanford of Philly, who's really been getting a lot of people vaccinated. We need to highlight people like her, people like you. So again, I think in the work that we're doing, highlighting stylists and barbers who are really out there, again, on the ground, engaging communities, listening to communities' concerns, bringing the information back to us so that we can really help to address and promote health equity amongst our communities.
Thank you so much. And you represent. I just want to say that you represent so very well. We love you so much. Good.
Thank you. You're like, you are my #1 fan. Like, I like the hype. I'm gonna leave here all like confident, like for the next couple of, right? Exactly.
We love you. We love you. We love you. We love you. God, please. Yeah. All right, Aaron. You know, what talk to our people, man, with your heart.
Yeah, you know, I have a 15-passenger van, and so I ordered a banner, and that banner is "Get Vaccinated." It's displayed on both sides. All through the 4th of July, we're going through all of those high-risk zip codes, and we're just going to drive that van through there and hopeful that we can reach those people that are hesitant. It's nonstop. We cannot let up on this. No person left behind in our community.
Thanks so much, Aaron. Well, Reverend Barber Tony Roberts.
I want to just leave with my colleagues that are watching to remember your position in the lives of your clients. They can't write their autobiography without us. They come to us for everything. They come to us when they have babies, get married, go on job interviews, for everything. What we do is as much relational as it is service oriented. So they trust us. So let's get this information, let's disseminate it, and let's get with this program so that we can save our community.
All right, Dr. Cameron Webb, what's your message, man? And again, I have to talk about everybody, but I'm so proud of you, man. I really am. I'm so proud of you, and for multiple reasons. It's just that authenticity that you come with, and the spirit that you come with, man. We are so appreciative of you, and you were called out to be called on for such a time as this, brother. This is your time.
Thank you so much. You sound like Mordecai talking to Esther, so I appreciate the encouragement. You know, I think that you know, what I'll say, and Faith mentioned that 90% in our poll have been vaccinated. That's a really powerful number, and that's because the folks who are here, you know, a thing or two about this virus, you know, a thing or two about this vaccination, and as they say, the more you know, right? That was that PSA campaign when I was growing up. The more you know makes a difference. Well, 90% of doctors are vaccinated because, you know, the more you know, the more likely you are to make this decision. 90% of teachers are vaccinated, and why? It's because the more you know, dedicated campaigns. What we found is that every time people in communities, no matter what they look like or where they are, know the facts about this vaccine, they get vaccinated. And so that's where we are. That's what we need you to do, is be a part of this work of helping spread knowledge, helping spread real, truthful, factual information. And if you do that, you've done your part. You have made a huge difference in your community. And the last thing I'll say is I was talking to a barbershop today in Las Vegas, and they said they had an event and they vaccinated one person at that event. And they were so proud, and we were so proud of them. That is one life saved. That is a big deal. So remember, every little bit makes a difference. And I'm so excited to have you all in this work with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much. Dr. Tuesday Cook.
So now y'all gonna have me going after Dr. Cameron Webb. That's what we're doing now? That's what we're doing? We're not doing that. We have to switch that back. You know, I think that Dr. Fletcher and Dr. Webb have said it plainly, said it clearly, and truthfully, as well as the wonderful Pastor Tony Roberts. What I would say, to switch up a little bit, you know, we clearly want you all to have good information, disseminate good information, get people to understand, you know, and be educated so they can make a wise and informed decision to become vaccinated to increase the health of our community. But what I would like to say is, you know, I think I said it in the last meeting that I actually dated a barber before I got married. And, you know, what I realized is that barbers and hairstylists, you know, the salons are places where people go and they talk their troubles. I mean, they come and they tell me too, and they cry in the office. And I know at the salons they talk, and they, you know, because they just want somebody to listen, somebody to hear. Sometimes they don't even want advice. They just want somebody to listen. And so, you know, I know that you all serve almost as mental health professionals for some people, and we understand that you too have your worries about your shops and about, you know, the businesses in this economy, and how things are set up. So I would encourage you also to ensure that you take care of your mental health. You know, those words that you all put in that word cloud, those are real words, and I felt it too. You know, just because I'm a surgeon doesn't mean that I can't feel worried for my family or worried for my business or worried about, you know, all the numerous things that plague Black people in this country on a daily basis. And still we have to operate at the highest level so that we are not, you know, we're not talked about. So, you know, the stress that you feel is real. And your physical health, your COVID-19 vaccination status, those things are important, but your mental health is just as important. And so, you know, encourage your clients to get vaccinated, yes, but also to seek care for their mental health. And you make sure that you take care of your mental health, because that's the only way that you can be there for your clients and for your family and for your business.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Cook. Dr. Reed Tuckson.
But let me just end with where I began, which is love. We care about you. We love you. We want you to remember as you go forward with this program and as you talk to your colleagues who are barbers and stylists, that this Delta variant, the one that is ravaging India and has destroyed it, the one that's closing down Australia, the one that is closing down countries all over Europe and the United Kingdom, it is now doubling every week in the United States. When people walk into your shop without their masks, remember, you don't know whether they are vaccinated or not. You don't know whether they are infected or not. Everybody is now trying to rush to new normal. I would hate to think that any one of you or your friends and colleagues in the business would wind up catching this new variant and become one of the statistics because you or they were not vaccinated. So I'm ending with love. I love you. I care about you. Please know that you cannot trust any of these people walking into your shop without a mask. You don't know whether they are vaccinated, infected, or not. You need to be protected so that you can continue to make a livelihood for yourself and your family. Take care of yourself.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Tuckson. Dr. Stephen, Dr. T. Thomas.
You know, Omar, tonight, and each of these sessions have been amazing. But tonight we had a message from the past. We had an echo from our ancestors telling us the way forward. I want to salute you and Dr. Tuckson and everyone who was involved in that production. That was a very high quality production. It will go all over the country. I hope it will be part of Dr. Fletcher changing the narrative and not letting people use our suffering to keep us from saving ourselves. These are the conversations that need to happen in the barbershop. Now we've got a nice piece for you to stream on your flat screen TVs and other resources. So I'm hopeful that the barbershop and the beauty salon is a new home for healthcare, not just COVID, a new home for healthcare in America for Black people. Take us home, Omar.
Well, again, I'd like to always start with thank you, because I can't think of two more important words than thank you for each of you, not only for my wonderful panelists, but for all of the people, the stylists and the barbers that are in the audience. Thank you. Thank you for everything you do, both seen and unseen. You know, when I was running for the mayor of the city of Tuskegee, I was motivated by three things. And those motivations were simple. One is Booker T. Washington say, cast down your bucket where you are. No matter where you are. And I think it was Dr. Webb that said that, you know, we talk about national statistics, but that doesn't even matter if it's not applicable in your community. So cast down your bucket where you are. The second is, to him much is given, much is required. You all have been given the trust of the community. They've trusted you with their secrets, with their hair in times that they needed it to be at its optimal level. They trusted you to make sure that they looked a certain way for that special event. So trust is very important, and they've given it to you, so you have their trust. And the last thing that I say to you is, once you know, then you owe. Now you can't say you don't know. You know, now you owe. Now let's go out and save some lives. And as always, I'd like to leave you with these 2 words. Remember that I love you with a perfect love. But more importantly, remember this: you've got the power.
All right. All right. You
Bye-bye.
got the power. Snaps.
Bye-bye. Love
Thank
you all.
everybody.
Love you all.
Look online for all the resources coming.